The last session, what we looked at? You remember? The first one was the concord factor, all right? And we look at the fact that they could be stressed and on the outside, but calm and tranquility on the inside, all right? And this evening we're going to look at the lighthouse factor. The last time we know lighthouse is something that give warning, and this evening we look at the guardrail factor. The guardrail factor. And we know what's a guardrail. A guardrail is something that is a barrier to guard you from going over a precipice or going over a dangerous incline. So tonight we want to look at the guardrail factor, how to turn bad stress into good. All right, how to turn bad stress into good. All right, and we know we have stress and we have eustress and also distress. So we want to make sure that we don't find ourselves in the distress region, but we find ourselves in the eustress area, where it means that you're managing the stress at all times. All right, so I'm gonna try to share my screen. Okay. Can you see the screen?
No, we can't.
No? Okay. See it now?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So we're going to explore the guardrail factor this evening. So let me minimize this so I could see what I'm doing here. All right. Okay. Look at that graphics. I think I'm having stress. Would you be having stress with that or distress? Which one?
Stress, distress. You'll be dead.
Yeah, I mean, this is that stress, that's beyond stress. I mean, this thing is wrapped around you. So, I mean, unless it's not a pet being control, it means that this thing is going to crush all your bones and then hopefully swallow you at the end of the day. Right? So, this is that stress, this is distress. Right? And then you could turn to depression if you don't get out of that sooner rather than later. All right? Now, we have 6-stage program for overcoming bad habits and moving your life positive forward. First one is pre-contemplation. All right. Second one, contemplation. You're gonna pre-contemplate on what you're gonna do. It's in everything in life you have to plan. And so when we talk about stress, in our first discourse, we discovered the ABCs of stress. Can anybody remember those 3 ABCs of stress? The 3 ABCs, the ABCs of stress. Anybody remember? What is A? Quickly. Anybody remember what is A? What is B?
Balance.
What is C? What Mr. A was? Because you have to remember D so you can be able to relate and understand what I'm saying now. A is what? A is being aware. So please jot those down. If you have a pen and pencil, jot those down. A, being aware of your present situation. That's A. Then you have balance now. That's B. You're balancing now as to what you need to do now that you're aware that you're in a situation. In the first graphic, we saw the snake wrapped around somebody. Now you have to be aware that you're in a bad situation now. How do you come out of that bad situation now? That's where B comes in balance now. You have to determine, look, do I stay with the snake wrapped around me, or do I try to wiggle my way out? Which is better for me at this stage? Because you try to wiggle yourself out, you might find yourself in more problems. You stay there, you might find yourself in worse problem. How do you get out of a situation with a snake wrapped around you? So you have to be aware, yes, you're aware in it. B, you're balancing now, what do I need to do? And C, change behavior. But how do you change behavior? Can you change behavior with the snake wrapped around you? Can you move? Can you get out? It's going to be a tough call. But the ABC of stress shows you that what you have in now is a situation where you have flight or fight. Now, in this case here, you can neither do both. You can't fight, neither can you run. Because your hands are bound, you're not able to do anything of yourself. You need some help outside of yourself now to get out of that. So somebody needs to come who is able to manage that and to probably to inhibit the snake from doing anything. In other words, then weaken it to some extent so that the grip it has and you let it go. You of yourself can come out. So sometimes when you find yourself in a stressful situation, in not every stressful situation you can come out on your own. You need help from outside of yourself. So I want you to remember the ABCs. The ABCs are awareness, balance, and change behavior. All right, folks, so please remember that. So you have pre-contemplation now. So you're going to contemplate on what you need to do to get out of your situation. It's not just to want to come out. You see, there must be a plan to come out of your situation. You can't just stay in a situation and you do not come out of it. There has to be a way out of it, right? So it says during this stage, there's generally a denial of any need to change and a resistance to change. Smokers, for instance, may deny that smoking is bad for the health, or will say they don't care about the health risk. They're pre-contemplating, but at the same time, they're wondering if they should or should not. Then you have contemplation. In this stage, there's a willingness to admit they have a problem, and they begin to think they will try to change eventually. However, they are not ready to make a change yet. All right? So you had the pre-contemplation, now you have contemplation. Now you have preparation now. All right? Setting a target time to change, to make a change in the near future. They begin to adjust their thinking and line up things in their life to maximize their chances of making the change successfully. They will likely inform others of their plans, seeking their understanding and support. All right? And so preparation, setting a target time to make a change in the near future, they begin to adjust their thinking and line up things in their life to maximize their chances of making the change successfully. They will likely inform others of their plans, seeking their understanding and support. Right? Then we have action. Action, D-Day. During this stage, all their energies are focused towards making the change successfully. This stage sets the most public recognition or gets the most public recognition, but much important work has been done already in prior stages. So you have the pre-contemplation, you have the contemplation, the preparation, and the action. So folks, if you have a pen and pencil, write these things down because we're going to come back to ask about them as we go to the presentation. All right? Then the next stage is, the next step, we say 6, number 5, maintenance. This is the time when you try to hold and secure the gains you have made. A relapse will put them back to any one of the previous stages, depending on the individual and their motivation to succeed. And so you want to maintain what is positive now. Now you have decided to change now. You want to maintain what is happening positively for you. You don't want to go back to the other stages. You already passed already, so you need to keep going forward. And then the last stage, termination. At this stage, the temptation to revert to the previous behavior is gone. And there's a strong confidence that relapse will never occur. Some people never reach this stage, but nevertheless are able to maintain their new behavior with a cautious watchfulness and avoidance or management of the triggers to regress, the maintenance stage. And so you find that you have the pre-contemplation where you're contemplating if you need to get out, or you're thinking, well, oh, things are not too bad, or I think I can make it there. Then you're contemplating, or then you're making up your mind as to what you're going to do. Then you're preparing, then you take action. All right? Do you see the three concepts coming out, the three ABCs of stress coming out there? Anybody quickly? In these 6 points that I've mentioned, are you seeing a correlation? Do you see a relationship between the ABCs of stress and the 6 point that we just mentioned there? Pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and termination. Are we seeing any correlation between them? Quickly, anybody?
Yeah. I understand the connection. I'm seeing it. The only stage that I am not understanding, I'm not getting connected, is the termination stage.
The determination stage is a point where you are the point now where you don't think you're going to go back to the previous stage. In other words, then you're on the way forward. All right. At this stage, you could do one of two things. You could either give up because the stress has become too much, or you're not allowing whatever has kept you bound to keep you now. In other words, you're going forward now. There's a confidence level now to move forward. So you're terminating the negative now and you're introducing the positive now. So you're going forward. All right. Probably it should be determination and termination. Probably it should be determination and termination. But the idea is that you want to maintain or you want to go forward now. There is no desire to turn back. You want to get rid of the bad. You're terminating all the bad habits and you want to move forward. All right. As I say, the 6-stage program for overcoming bad habits and moving your life positively forward. All right. All right. Now, steps to positive change. Step 1, there are 3 steps. Steps 1. Right? Now, if you get a piece of paper, look and write down these from 1 to 10 on a piece of paper, because we're going to come back to it later in the program. And you want to look at it. You have worst case is 1. Then you have 4, I'm here. Then best case scenario 10. So on a scale of 1 to 10, you're going to rate yourself as we go to the presentation now, because we're going to come back to this later on. So you want to rate yourself now in terms of where you are on the scale. All right. So get a piece of paper with a pencil or pen, and you just write down make that line there. Then you're going to write down from 1 to 10, and then you're going to evaluate yourself based on the presentation as we go along. Right. So step 1, access where you are. You notice we're coming back again to the ABCs of stress. Access where you are. All right. Step 2, decide where you eventually want to be and why. So you're balancing what decision you got to make. All right. Now, look again at the scoring chart. How are you scoring? How well are you doing? Is it the worst case scenario for you? Where are you on the scale of 1 to 10? Are you 4, I'm here, or I would like to be here 8, but I'm not there. I'm probably maybe at 4 or 5, or the best case. Where are you? Number 10, are you at number 10, the best case? Where you determine where you are. Now, in the worst case, it means that there's no exercise at all. You're not exercising at all. The worst case, you're not exercising, right? 4, you're active, but not aerobically. You're not doing much, right? But now your goal now between 5 and 7, 5 and 8, now your goal is to have 30 minutes of aerobic exercise 6 times a week. Yeah, that's your goal. And of course, then you're a runner, you're a marathon runner. Maybe you like to run, maybe you like to train for the marathon, so you're really preparing yourself. So you gotta see what you can manage. Now, 30 minutes of aerobic exercise 6 times a week. Why? It helps to manage stress by what? It will condition my body to handle stress more efficiently and calmly. That's what exercise does. It will help me relax and sleep better. It will raise my HDL, high density lipoprotein. I think that's the best cholesterol. Want to make sure I get the correct term now. HDL, high density okay, lipid. Some I think that I stand to be corrected, but it's the HDL, yeah, the LDL and HDL. So this is the good one, right? The good kind. It will help me feel better if I'm stick with it. It will improve my general health. So your goal is to exercise for 30 minutes 6 times a week, right? Then step number 3, you're gonna make changes gradually towards the goal and make them fun and convenient. Now, one of the challenges that we face in terms of when we're going to do something, we tend to try to move too fast, too soon. And then we find ourselves in a situation where we are getting burned out too fast because we're doing too much too soon. You know, the doctor saying to exercise, you're very much overweight, you're about 50 pounds overweight, and you want to get out of the weight, but you're trying to get it off too fast. Now, that is going to cause more harm than good. So you want to take it gradually and to make sure that if you can't exercise for more than 10 minutes, do your 10 minutes exercise. Don't go for 30 minutes. The 30 minutes will cause more damage than good. So you want to make sure that you understand what you're doing. Now, again, you come up to a scale. How are you doing? Number 1, no exercise at all. That's the worst case scenario for some people. Active, but not aerobically. Your goal is the same 30 minutes exercise. And of course, you want to reach number 10, which is your run. All right? Then again, there's another scale. Now we have no exercise, 1. Then 5 to 10 minutes walk after supper, 3 times or 3 to 4 or 5 times per week. All right. And of course, your goal is to get between 5 and 8. Right. If you're walking, you want to get between 5 and 8. That could be a good range. So you could run, you could do aerobic exercise, now you could walk. So whatever you choose to do, make sure you're getting maximum. All right. And of course, 15 to 30 minutes walk after supper 3 to 5 times per week. Again, you see there, and you see the scale as you go along.
You can do it, but you need to.
Second pardon? Brother George, making a point?
No, I was saying that moving up and down is not exercise. You have to be organized when you're doing your exercise, because you can move up and down and think you're exercise, but you're putting a lot of stress on your body.
Then the different forms of exercise, you have walking, you have running. You could be a marathon runner. I just say you have 30 minutes walk after supper, 5 times per week. Now, the walk after supper is not a brisk walk, it's a casual walk, right? A walk that aids in digestion. Now, for those who like to walk in the morning now, you could walk for 45 minutes as a brisk walk where you work out the sweat. There's some who jog, there's some who run, right? Because they want to really work out the sweat. So when you look at the scale here from 1 to 10 now, you have to make a determination which is your goal. Where do you want to be on the scale? You want to be between 7, 8, you want to be between 5 and 6, you want to be 9 and 10. You have to determine where to do. And as I said, it's not just walking up them, but organize yourself, right? Plan for it and to make sure you get the benefit as you go along. Again, you see another goal there. Active but not aerobically. You might be active at 4, but you're not really aerobic so that your heart not really getting to get the work that the heart needs to build itself up. All right. And of course, you have the 8 now. It's simply the 8 is the where you want to be, where you are getting 30 minutes of aerobic exercise 6 times a week. All right. And of course, those who want to go to the extra mile, number 10, a marathon runner. All right, so we're coming to a path, an ambulance, or a guardrail. Now, the guardrail factor has to do with the fact that you need to put things in place to safeguard yourself. All right? Are you going to have a guardrail, a path, or an ambulance? Now, a path is where you see yourself going through. All right? Are you going to find yourself going over a path? Then you have to call in the emergency services to rescue you, or are we going to put something there to stop you from going over so that you don't have to run the risk of being in danger? All right. So if you notice, the question is asked about the path, the ambulance, and the guardrail. Which of these three do you think is more important for you at this stage? Is it the path? Is it the ambulance or the guardrail? Mr. Idle, I know you're there. Can you tell us which of these three is important for you in terms of the guardrail factor?
I'm not sure as yet. I'm still listening.
You still listening?
Yes.
Right. So a guardrail now, you see them putting up some guardrails around on the road there, building at the airport and Friday Road now. These shine things they put up at certain areas. What is it they're guarding against?
Coming off of your path. No
Coming
accident.
off of your path. You know, these things are for stopping from going over path that could be dangerous. You see, they put them everywhere and they put them in certain areas. Maybe there's a waterway there, or maybe the areas could be treacherous if you go over there. So the guardrail is basically to stop you. In case you get out of control now, it's to stop you from going over. And of course, there could be some damage at the guardrail. You're not going to be stopped from going over, but you could get damaged. You could get damaged. So, and then of course, the ambulance come into play, the emergency services, because if you hit the guardrail, you can't get damaged. And if it's damaged bad enough, you can't move. Or if you happen to actually go over the guardrail or to knock it to the position, you're going down in a gully or a cliff now, it means that you need help now to help you out of that situation. Right? Now, 3 ways of dealing with stress. You could deal with in 3 ways, either surviving, right? Path equals surviving. You're surviving what is happening. All right? Surviving stress reactive. Now, reacting to is stressful situation as it arises with no forethought, planning, conscious awareness, or use of stress management principles. Is doing the best you can to survive at the moment with the least possible efforts. How do you cope with standing in anxiousness? Do you take least positive effort? Do you make least positive effort in an anxiousness, or you hurry out of the anxiousness?
Oh, yeah.
You hurry out of it.
Right. So some people really just trying to survive. And actually trying to get out of a situation, they're trying to survive within the situation. That's what you're actually saying. They're reactive. They're not proactive. All right? They're not someone who is thinking ahead. They just say, so what? I mean, the answer is so what? When the answer tired bite, you start bite. All right? Now, you see the number of things there. People can react to situation now. Somebody they tell you shoot a pill there. All right? Then you see another graphic. Somebody trying to drink his way out of trouble. Some smoke and some having a nightlife or like clandestine relationship. Yeah. And somebody's trying to cook the out of trouble. All right? But you see all these graphics there, they do not work. You have to find some ways to get out of that situation. Now come to our stress tank. Do you remember our stress tank, folks? The strain and loss of job, right? You have STR is stressed over, yeah? Or the stressor. And the stressor stands for strain, trouble, relationship, conflict, excessive change, sustained illness, steady, constant worry, overwork, recurring accumulative irritations. So this is what is happening there, why your stress tank gets filled all the time. All right? Now, these stressors are you lost a job, financial situation, relationship conflict, excessive change, sustained illness, steady, constant worry. You keep worrying. You're always anxious. You're working overtime. And accumulative irritation. Now, things that keep irritated keep coming up. All right? Now, what we cause the tank to overflow now? Health breakdown, accident proneness, relationship impairment, mental illness. All right? So how do you close the tank now? The pressure valve. Now you got to close the pressure valve by what? Avoiding wasting caffeine, alcohol, liquor, overuse of drugs, smoking, and trying to be isolated by yourself. These are what create a problem. You don't want to isolate yourself. You need people. Find somebody you could confide in. Find a confidant. It doesn't have to be a relative. It doesn't have to be a wife or your husband. But find somebody you could confide in with confidence so that you could talk. And as you talk, you have to release some of the stress you have. Now, we don't drink caffeine. I hope we're not drinking caffeine. We hope we're not liquor and smoking. Right? And hope those of us who take drugs, take minimum drug, whether it's prescription or over-the-counter drug, the least of that you take, the better for you. All right? And then, of course, the tank size now it depends upon the condition of your health. The relationship, social support, do you have somebody you could talk to? Executive hardiness, do you have a lot of decisions you have to make as an executive on the job each day? Attitude, belief system. What is your belief system? What's your type of personality? Is it type A or type B? All these will determine the size of the tank. All right. And of course, you have endowment and heredity. You have something coming to you. And so you're worried about what you're going to do for retirement. You're worried about what may have been passed on to you or should have passed on to you. And so all these determine how large the tank will be. And of course, you want to open the pressure valve, all right? All right. One point, you're closing it by avoiding certain things. Now you're going to open it by doing certain things, all right? Do you see here? On the left-hand side of the screen there, you notice that closing the pressure valve, what you do, you avoid things. Then you're going to open it now by doing something. So you open it by prayer, spiritual centering, by relaxation, exercise, activities, your viewpoint, talking, then eating healthily, then neighborly love, loyal friendship, love relationship, time management, organization. These are what will help to release the pressure. And you've noticed what is on top of this? Prayer. Nothing beats prayer. Now, free to ask any questions you go down. Now, the human body has a massive thought finite ability to cope with range of stress. If we undermine this by poor general health, supplemented by the gross abuse of food, drugs, and tobacco and alcohol, then we can hardly complain if our bodies fail to cope or actively rebel. Maintaining a good health is part of a positive or most aggressive approach we can bring to the problem of stress. All right? And that is from I4 Campbell and John Gurney, Managing Stress. All right? They talk about that. Now, part equals surviving. Then the ambulance now, coping. All right? Coping. All right? So at one stage of surviving, now you're coping. You have to determine which of these stages you want to be in. Now, coping with stress, proactive. Developing a beginning level awareness of stress management principles and attempting to apply them to relieve the buildup of pressure as potentially stressful situation occur. So you're going to be proactive. You're coping now. You're finding ways of means of coping, right? But at the same time, you want to make sure that while you're coping, you reach to the level of eustress and not distress. All right? That's the goal. Now, guardrail managing. So you have the path equals surviving, then ambulance coping, then the guardrail managing. All right? Prevention creative. Making preparation in advance to handle potentially stressful situations by integrating proven stress management principles into your daily lifestyle. Gaining the power to convert formerly and potentially harmful stress into beneficial stress through the development of a healthy viewpoint, attitude, and belief towards life. So you want to make sure that the 3 areas part equal what? Surviving. Then the next part we have, what we say we have surviving and coping, and now we have what? Management. So you want to make sure that you're able to manage carefully. The guardian factor, learning to convert distress into eustress, harmful stress into healthy stress through the creative development of a reality-based viewpoint, attitude and beliefs, and a healthy spiritual center of your life. So you want to make sure that everything you're doing is to make sure that you maximize the positive and minimize the negatives from the stress. And of course, our stress tank come back again. It's always going to come back for us to review, for us to see exactly what, and for us to see, how is my stress tank now? As an individual, how is my stress tank? Is it overflowing? Am I able to close the pressure relief valve by eliminating things that are harmful? Am I able to open it now to do what is healthy? So these are the things you got to think about. And of course, the tank size. How is the tank size? How big is your tank? Is it a big tank? Is it a small tank? Is it medium size? So there's a lot of things that you got to think about when it comes to managing stress. All right? Now, the goal of stress management is to respond to the stress of life by making decisions and taking actions that prevent, minimize the harmful consequences, distress, and maximize the positive results, eustress, through a balanced integration of the 7 keys. All right? Then you have prevent, right? P, prevent. First one is P. Then you have relax, exercise activities, then your viewpoint, then you have time management, organization. So you want to make sure that you understand the goal of managing stress is to prevent distress, but to manage your stress level so you can be always in a eustress situation. How a healthy viewpoint helps. It can convert some potentially harmful stress event into positive experiences that promote your self-general well-being. All right. So your viewpoint. Now, sometimes we call it your worldview. What is your worldview? What is your view on what is happening to you? What is your view on what you need to do because of what is happening to you? What is your view on what others say might be the best outcome? Do you believe them? Do you trust them? Do you think that what they're saying is helpful? So your viewpoint plays a very critical role in managing whether you're going to get out of a stressful situation or you're going to stay in it. All right? It provides a mental framework out of which you can relate positively and healthily to a life's irritants and crisis. All right? So you want to make sure that you have a healthy viewpoint. Right. Now, happiness. Percentage of death, 39 years. Now, the president says, now, look at the chart, men. All right? 10.3% of men are happy. 11.8% pretty happy, and 16% not happy. Gentlemen, look at that carefully. Then come to women now. 6.8% of women are happy, very happy. 7.9 pretty happy. And look at that, 10.8 unhappy. All right? Now, this could create some challenges for us if we're not happy with life, if we're not satisfied with life, if we're not contented. All right? Because people are not happy now, you find that the stress level gets high and they die fast. Or they're living but they're not happy. They're always more unhappy than happy. So you got to determine which of these areas that you fall into at this point in time. Stress is your response to stressors. Everything we do in life is a response to what is happening. You're driving a car going on the road and hear certain sound in the car engine which is sound normal. You could do one or two things. You could pull aside, check the hood to see if there's something loose, or if you check and there's nothing loose, you could say, you know what? Let me call my mechanic just to be on the safe side. Or you can attempt to take off this that which you don't even know you're taking off. All right? Or you can say, let me drive and go to work. Maybe the noise will stop, maybe just tone the pick up in the tire or something. But they notice the noise get heavier and heavier and it starts to vibrate. They say, no, something really wrong with the vehicle. Now, a wise person may call his auto expert to come and look. Look, I'm parking Timbuktu, so come and check me as soon as possible so we can see what is wrong with the vehicle. All right? So stress is your response to stresses. So whatever is stressing you out now, you have a cup of tea, it's very hot. You don't want to gulp it down. You can't even sip it because it's too hot. So you gotta do it. You gotta let it blow up for a little while. You can get stressed over it. Or if you're in a hurry, throw it in one of those insulated flasks so you can walk and go to work. So it's hot still, so you still get some warm beverage in your stomach. Now, some of these things can keep things warm for 24 hours. So if you don't want it hot for 24 hours, at some point you got to open it and let the steam go. All right? So all that is the response. Right.
Is there such thing as good stress or healthy stress?
Yeah.
I joined late, so I don't know what you would have covered.
We were looking at the guardrail factor. We're looking at the guardrail factor, which has to do with managing, coping, or just going along. Right? Now, not all stress is bad. What is bad about stress is your ability to manage. All right? Everything you do in life has some level of stress. Your wife and you could be very stressful. Something is happening, you're very stressful in the home or on the job. But you're able to cope or you're surviving. In other words, in the survival mode, you're just basically going along meandering. All right? In the coping section now, you are able to manage, and then you have the mind section now where you plan ahead. You're being proactive. In other words, you know the stress is going to be there, but you're planning ahead before the stress comes or before it overtakes you. In other words, you're putting things in place so that you don't become distressed because of what is happening. You already put something in place to avoid you falling into a distressed mode. All right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's good.
It's okay. No, I get that. I can live with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, beginning level understanding of stress. The activating events, stressors. These are what any amount of thing can stress you out. You name it from A to B. Could be a stress. All right? Then you have the consequences, which is your response to stress depends on the consequence now. And you have the physiological dimension, you have the emotional, and have the behavior. All right? So your body goes through all sorts of stages because of the stress. Now, depending on how you plan to manage or respond to the situation, then will determine what kind of physiological result you're going to get, what kind of emotional result you're going to get, and what kind of behavioral result you're going to get, depending on what action you take. The goal is to minimize the negative and to maximize the positives. That is always the goal of stress management. Minimizing one and maximizing the other. Almost
Pastor,
every, aye.
could you define the three, you just mentioned there as, if you could go back on the slide,
Surviving,
no,
surviving,
the slide before this one.
before this one.
Yeah, the
This one?
consequences, this
Mm.
physiological,
Consequences,
emotional behavior, especially the
right,
physiological.
right. So your physiological, you're thinking now, right? How you respond mentally now to what is happening. Then also has to do with the emotion and then your behavior also now. How do you behave afterwards? Okay, I try to give a simple illustration of the ants nest. All of us will quickly say we're going to jump on the ants nest. But before you jump on the ants nest now, your body would have gone to, your brain would have gone to certain evaluations in terms of the ABCs. You've been aware. Now you're balancing what you got to do and then you change your behavior. Now the consequences of that is that you would avoid being bitten further and avoid your foot getting inflamed or swollen because you would have come out of that situation, right? So physiologically now, you're at ease. Yeah, you're at ease physiologically, emotionally now, you're okay, you're calm, you're good, and your behavior is not positive. Why? Because you're not in that situation now. Now, if you choose to stay in the answers now, it means therefore that your stress level get from eustress to distress. Because what happened now? Physiologically now, you start to worry about the fact that the answer is biting you, is biting you, your feet are swollen, you start to get water pressure pause in quick time, and then you might find yourself not thinking too well. Emotionally, you start to cry and take it on, and then your behavior start to be erratic. These are the consequences that are going to there. All right. So the stressor is the anxiousness, and your response now determines the consequence now. All right. Now we talk about the two levels, fight and flight. And in the graphic we show at the beginning where there's an individual there with a snake wrapped around them. And we talk about how much stress is that. And we say that that's not just stress, that is distress. Because if you have a snake wrapped around you, that's not just stress, that is distress. Because there's no way you can come into that on your own. You have to get help outside of yourself. Now, if you're in an area and the snake is coming towards you now, I always taught us that when a snake is coming, don't move. Because the snake move by motion, heat. But then the snake going to keep coming. As he keep coming, he's going to feel the heat. So he knows you're close by. Now, what some folks do normally, if for instance there's something in quick in hand reach like a piece of stick or stone or something, you can throw that thing, or you take up several stones and keep throwing them until when, and the snake will hear and will try to follow the sound and the someone get away. But you must understand that the snake move by heat. So that maybe it may run thinking you run into that direction, but if the snake senses that there's still heat around it, he's not going to move because what? He senses that you're there, right? And so your whole physiological and emotional behavior section start to go into a level that is either positive or negative, right? Now, almost everything that happens in our lives require a particular viewpoint, belief, or interpretation in order for it to evoke a response, whether positive or negative in us. As I said before, your viewpoint or your worldview, how you think about life. Now, if you go to the doctor and doctor says, look, you need to take this medication for this problem you have. Now, if you say, okay, I don't do medication, I don't do tablets, I don't do injectables, your viewpoint or your worldview say, look, hey, I don't need to take these things. Chances are, probably maybe not taking them could cause you to get worse, or maybe you could actually get better without it. Because to be told, Your body can heal itself with medication. Now, medication don't heal the body. Medication barely get you back in balance. But back in balance doesn't mean you're in health. It means that the body now is in a position now where it can heal itself. All right? So we need to understand that. Medication don't cure, or it does not get you better. It just barely tries to get you back in balance, but then your health now depends on what you do now after that. All right? And so we want to make sure that our viewpoint is positive as always. Stress arises out of the way we interpret our circumstances and interpret in an interaction with people. All right, that was by Barbara B. Brown. So the stress arises out of the way we interpret our circumstances and interaction with people. So what do? You go to the job in the morning and you see confusion in the office. Do you allow it to stress you out? Or do you ignore it and just pass, go straight to the office? What do? In life, you're going to find situations. Now, you're driving and somebody cut across on the highway. And you have to grab a high brakes. Now, grabbing a high brakes is one thing. Are you going to try to curse the person who do that? Or are you going to remain calm and serene? It's kind of stressful for you to accept what has been done. But then, how do you cope with that now? Do you allow this to get you to be in a more stressful situation, or do you want to maintain a eustress situation? The best thing is to remain calm, relax yourself. You'll be less stressed. But then again, your viewpoint or your worldview will determine how you will react. Now, if you're somebody with a short fuse, trust me, that person who cut across is going to get it. There's no question about it. If you are type A personality, that person who cut across you might come out of the car and go across and tell the person, look, wind on the window, I want to talk to you. Do you know what I just did? Then the person might give some choice words, or maybe pull a weapon and say, look, you're in my face, get out. Then you may get upset now and say, look, I'm going to fight the person. But what? You don't want to put yourself in a more stressful situation. So in every situation you find yourself in, the goal is to remain calm. Remain calm. Don't get yourself worked up. Remain calm. It is not the event itself, but rather the way it is received that determines the level of the stress and the kind of stress that results. A roller coaster ride terrifies some people, creating distress, while it's exhilarating for others, creating new stress. All right. So you're the partner may decide to go on the Ferris wheel or the roller coaster, and you there vomiting the guts out, and the person just like, hello, what is that? I'm doing fine. Or you're in a craft, and the turbulence is really bad there, and you're 30,000 feet there, or maybe 39,000 feet there, and it's really bad, nerve-wracking. You there, and you are frightened to the bones, and the person next to you is fast asleep. Or you could be in the high seas, and the weather is bad, and the ride is rough. Yeah, you there vomiting, getting nauseated, getting sick, even collapsing, and then the person next to you just lean back there and they go and sleep. Like nothing at all happening. So it's how we perceive. All right? Some folks who go to the aircraft, and before the aircraft takes off, they go and sleep. Others, they can't sleep or wink on the aircraft. It's how we perceive our worldview, how we think about life. Attitude determines whether we perceive any experience as pleasant or unpleasant, and adopting the right one can convert a negative stress into a positive one. Right, and that was by Hans Seeley, MD, The Real Benefit of Eustress. Stress is 90% how the mind looks at difficulties in life, and relieving stress is 100% the way the mind uses resources to resist the effect of stress and learns how to cope with stress without distress. All right? So stress is 90% how the mind looks at the difficulties in life, and relieving stress is 100% the way the mind uses its resources to resist the effect of stress and learn how to cope with and to deal with stress without distress. All right? I want you to ponder that. Now, stress is not your reaction to the stressors so much as it is a reaction to your interpretation of the stressors. Right? Is your interpretation what's happening that really matters? Excuse me. All right? Your belief empower the stressors in your life. So if you have a negative outlook, it means that the stressors are going to influence you negatively. All right? So you're enabling them to produce the level of stress you experience. So in other words, you're allowing someone else or something to dictate your level of happiness. No, you don't do that. You got to control what's happening. To a great degree, you can control the level of stress you will experience. Again, you walk in the house and you see something that's not nice, your point, your view of the interpretation of what you see determines what you're going to do next. All right? And the most important thing is to always remain calm. Don't be in too much hurry to do something, just remain calm. The thing may bother you, but probably close your eyes and say, Lord, I'm not really seeing that, and move on. And then you come back to it later on when your body cool down. Now we come back again to the big ABCs of stress management. All right? The activating events. What is causing the stressors? Your belief is the filter, how you manage, how you cope, how you get rid of what you need to get rid of. And of course, the consequences now, the physiological, the emotional, and behavioral. And so the activating event, what is causing the stress? Then the belief. How do you manage? How do you think? How do you interpret what is happening? That's the filter. You filter out what you need to filter out, and you put in what you need to put in to make sure you can manage the stress level. Now here's some thoughts. You interpret the events with a series of thoughts that continue to flow through your mind. This is called your internal dialogue. All right? Now, the worldview now is a series of positive, neutral, and negative events. So in the world, you're seeing all kinds of stuff. All right? And you're interpreting all these in the mind. The mind is at play. You're trying to interpret everything to say exactly what will work. Then the mood. Your feelings are created by your thoughts and not the actual events. All experiences must be processed through your brain and given a conscious meaning before you experience any emotional response. So you have to weigh everything in the brain. That's why I said last week that just to jump on the ants nest or to take your hand off a hot surface now takes a million of a seconds to do. But then the process by which the body goes through before your hand moves now will take about 20 minutes to explain or to interpret. But the body is taking a split seconds to do that, or less than a split seconds to do all that. So you can move your hand instantly from the hot surface, or you can jump out of the ants nest. All right? That's why the Bible says we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Beliefs, thoughts that assign meaning to the stressors. What do you believe is the stressor? What do you think is causing this thing to happen? And of course, the activating events, then are the consequences and the stress level. Right? So you want to make sure that you maintain a eustress situation all the time. If we can change an interpretation of an event, we can effectively change the impact that the event will have on us. Managing stress at an advanced level requires the development of a healthy, reality-based viewpoint as a basis for positively interpreting events of our lives and thus control the events they will have on us. Right? So you have the stressors, then you have the, what we call it, your beliefs, and see, induce the stress. Right? your action now. Now we can look at that, and the SIBC stand for stress-induced belief, right? You have the stresses, then you have stress-induced belief now. Now your belief will determine if you're going to induce more stress to already stress situation, or if you're going to introduce eustress. And of course, C now, induce stress, induce distress. In other words, now, the belief will cause you to be in a distress mode. Now, what you want to have is not SIB, but SRB, stress reduced beliefs. Whatever causes you to have a reduce in your stress is what you want to have around. So you have the SIB, stress-induced belief, and you have SRB, stress-reduced belief, right? And then you have the stresses again, then a stress-reduced belief, disable, all right? Then you see reduce stress, not induce stress now, you're reducing the stress. All right, so you have stressors, then you have A, then you have belief about A. What do you believe about A? What is your belief about A? Right? Will determine what will happen at C, either distress or eustress. So if you believe it's okay to send as this, then the consequences will determine whether you're going to be distressed or in a eustress situation. So B is very important. Your viewpoint or your belief system determines exactly what will happen at the end of the journey. All right? Planes are unsafe for travel for some people because of fear, anxiety, nervousness, tension, sleeplessness. Some folks are not comfortable in an aircraft. We put them in a boat, they're good to go. All right? Stress reducing belief. Statistically, planes are safer than cars. Excitement, anticipation, calm, relaxation. Now, for some people, a plane is just what they need to get around. Don't tell them about the boat. Boat is stress for them. They go vomit, they feel nauseated, they might collapse. They don't want to go on a plane now. For one, you hardly have any stress unless there's a turbulence. Secondly, you reach your sceneries around as long as you're not going to the Atlantic. If you're going across country from state to state or from city to city, you'll be able to see below. Depending on the traffic, if there's a lot of traffic, you might be traveling at about 35,000 feet altitude, which means that you're over cloud, so that you're not seeing much thing below you. All right? But you're comfortable because what? You're not feeling all the stress that is outside. All right? So what about B? Enables or disables stress. Your belief. How do you interpret the situation? All right? How do you interpret what is happening in A? Will determine what will happen at C. Are we getting a burden? Are we together? Are you following? Is there any question on
Yes.
that? Any question on that? In terms of the B, your interpretation of A, right? Your belief system about A, and interpretation of A will determine what happened at C. Whether it's going to be distress or eustress. Everybody agree with that? Anybody have any question about that?
I agree.
Okay, I'm hearing one certain person. Brother George?
Yes, yes, I agree.
Yes, I agree. I agree. It is pretty much similar to what you were explaining from the beginning, that stress could be positive and it could be negative, right? Hence the reason why you say now at B, your interpretation of what is happening will determine, the results in C.
You're right. So when you come into a stress situation, like you go home now, you see something now that started you. So your interpretation, what you see now, will determine your reaction now. What you do. That's why it's always best to remain calm in any given situation. All right, that's the first thing, remain calm. Don't be in a hurry to act. Remain calm. Think about what you need to do before you do it. All right? You make the call. To a great extent, whether an event creates distress or eustress, depending on how you call it. All right? For example, you make the call. Is it a ball or a strike? Is it a ball or a strike? You make the call. It's an aim at nothing. It ain't nothing till I call it something. So when you see the situation now, you must determine what it is before you can move forward. When a potentially stressful event occurs in your life, remember, it ain't nothing till you call it something. You make the call every time. All right? Reinterpreting is stressor. All right. What about B? Enables or disables stressors. Again, you see, keep coming back. Belief about A, interpretation of A, symbolic value of A as ascribed to A. What kind of value do you give to A? What is really happening at A? Will determine your belief system. Your belief system will determine what you think about A. And of course, the result is either distress or eustress. The parking ticket.
Pastor, go back
Right.
to the slide again, please. The section that you have symbolic value ascribed to A. How would you explain that?
Look, you have the interpretation then. The symbolic value in terms of, what importance are you going to place on it? First, you're going to interpret what is happening here, then you're going to say, well, put a value to what you see now. The value can be termed of importance. How important it is. How important it is, or how urgent it is to do something. How do you classify it? Is it something that you need to do right away? Can you just be calm for a while before you go to it? So the value put in it determines how fast you're going to move to get rid of it, or if you're going to just cope with it or to manage it.
Well, is there always a time that a value can be put to it at the moment, or it's over a period of time that you can put a value to it?
Well, you see, you have to put a value because putting a value determines what kind of change of behavior you're going to get. Whether you're going to get distress or eustress. You see, putting a symbolic value, what you're doing now, you're putting an importance on what you have to do. Right? When you look at A, right? One, your belief system will tell you what you think about A. So you're going to interpret A based on your value system then. And because of your value system, you're going to put maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, now you're going to rate A in terms of value. 1 being the least important and 10 being the most important. So you have to say, well, get a scale of 1 to 10, say, okay, well, I'm going to put it at 8, between 7 and 8 of importance. Because your goal is to reduce the stress and to get yourself back into a called a eustress situation. Now, again, you come again, it's going for the interpretation of A, the symbolic value ascribed to A, then other major belief, low self-esteem, dislike of other persons, superstition, etc. So all these affect your belief system, affect how your self-esteem works. If it's going to be positive or negative, or if you're going to have a high self-esteem, or you have a low self-esteem, or if you're going to dislike others. You see, your situation determines what you do. That's why I put a value to it. So you can know exactly how to properly define what you need to do, where you need to go.
No. So that's why it's important for you to make that call, because
Right.
sometimes persons would want to evaluate it based on their belief. So you might mention superstition. I may find an egg in front of my door, and all that comes to my mind, a hen passed by and laid the egg. Somebody that is superstitious will say somebody put it there to trap me.
Mhm.
So I should not allow somebody's belief system to determine how I respond to a situation.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Correct. That's correct. Now, how to convert bad stress into good through a healthy viewpoint? Challenge your stress-inducing belief. All right. Remember, was SIP. We talked about that before, just a few slides ago. Stress-inducing belief. The belief that introducing stress. Then, in other words, your viewpoint or your worldview. If your worldview is negative, then you got to change it. So you have not a SIP, but you have stress-reduced belief. In other words, your belief system should reduce in your stress. That's what is supposed to happen. All right? Analyze your self-talk. Again, this graphic was before. You interpret the events with a series of thoughts that continue to flow through your brain or your mind. This is called your internal dialogue. All right? And of course, the world has its view. You have your own view as well. So your view must make a positive impression and not a negative one. Work backwards from C to A, then work from A to B. All right? The consequences, from the consequences to the stresses. All right? In other words, now, you stop thinking about the consequences, you go back to what is stressing you out. So after you go back to A now, you're going to go from A to B now before you get back to the consequences. In other words, you want to go back to the beginning. You go back to A to analyze things from A to B before you get back to C. Because somewhere along the line, things not going right. So you need to say, well, let me go back to the beginning. Let me work to the ants nest and to see what was it about my belief system that is now caused me to be more distressed than eustressed. So from time to time, you have to go back to where the thing is and work your way forward, step by step, to make sure you're not missing any important step. Is everybody understand that? I'm just explaining there.
Yes.
All right. So when you find yourself stuck in a situation now, you go back to A, to the stressors. Not because you want the stressors to think, but you want to see if your belief system created a problem why you're not getting back into you stress, but you keep going to distress. All right. So stress induced belief. Life must be fair to me at all times. So that's what we do. We try to say life must be fair to us. That is stress-induced belief. Life must be fair to me at all times. Everyone must love and accept me at all times. I must succeed at everything I do. How to convert bad stress into good through a healthy viewpoint. Challenge your stress-inducing belief SIP, right? And replace SIP with stress-reducing beliefs. That's what we're saying all the time. That's why B is important. Balancing what you need to do and to make sure that you do not put yourself in a situation where you think that you must always get the benefit of something. Good stress reducing beliefs are reality based. SIP, life must be fair at all times. And SRB, stress reducing belief, I would like to always be treated with fairly, but everyone is treated unfairly at times. It is possible to be treated unfairly and still be happy. All right. So don't always think that you must always find a situation where you always get the best of everything. All right. Same. Stress-induced belief. Everyone must love and accept me at all times. And stress relief belief, reduced belief. I would like to always be loved, but that's unrealistic. It doesn't feel good to be not accepted, but it's not catastrophic. When someone rejects me, it doesn't devalue me. Some people who have made the greatest contribution have had their detractors. Right. Stress induced belief. I must succeed at everything I do. Stress reduced belief. I would like to always be successful, but no one is always successful. Failing at sometimes doesn't devalue me, and failure can sometimes be a stepping stone to an even greater achievement. It's what I do with the failure that matters most. Good stress reducing belief, SRBs, are reality based. How to develop reality based stress reducing belief? Make an accurate assessment of what's happening. Awareness. You come up to the ABC stress, awareness. Explore creative possibilities, B. Read books that are recognized for their healthy outlook. Note the positive response of others to situations that cause you stress. What were the thinking that enabled them to maintain a positive outlook? So you got to make an accurate assessment of what's happening. You're going to explore creative possibilities. You're going to read books that are recognized for their healthy outlook. Now you're going to know the positive response of others to situations that cause you stress. So you're going to look at how others handle. That means you're going to talk to people, the social action. You're going to talk, you got to communicate. So at least you can know, okay, if John Bourne was able to handle, how did he handle the situation? Because you know, find yourself in a situation, you want to know how did he get out? So we got to learn from others to make sure we don't make the same mistake or the pitfall that they make. All right? The biggest surprise in stress management research. Again, we come back to the stress tank, and we talk about that several times. So just look at it again. We have the stressors. You see all what could cause the stress. You notice tank size. You notice the overflow valve, what causes the breakdown. And then you see the most important part is opening the pressure valve, relief valve, prayer, spiritual centering, relaxation, exercise, etc. On your viewpoint. All right. And so the goal of management is to respond to the stress of life by making decisions and taking actions that prevent, minimize the harmful consequences, the stress, and create, maximize the positive results you stress through a balanced interpretation of the 7 keys. All right. Total health involves the spiritual, the emotional, and the social aspect of life, as well as the physical. Corporate spiritual sensing helps. It provides a rich resource for discovery and development of stress-reducing belief. So prayer is very important. It's one of the best stress relievers, prayer. And of course, the number one source of respect and improving stress is the Bible. You can't meet the Bible. All right? Also, it provides a base of support and security. Now, the decline of religion in the West is undoubtedly linked with the rise in stress-related diseases or disease. Not only is religion a support and comfort in time of need, but it can also alleviate uncertainty and insecurity, which you know are accurately stressful. So church and spiritual activities play their part to keep us healthy and keep us in a positive frame of mind, right? Most people who go to church, they maintain a more healthy environment than those who don't go, all right? And that has been proven over and over again, all right? Now, it also provides measurable health benefits, all right? We're coming close to the end, so don't worry. People who regularly prayed and read religious literature, attended church or synagogue, and who consider themselves strong and active in their religious faith reported only have their health problems as non-practicing people. So those of us who go to church should be the healthiest people we should be the most positive people because we trust in a God who is healthy. We trust in a God who wants us to be in good health. And so those of us who read the Bible and pray should have the least stress because the Bible is there to help us get rid of stress. The Bible says, come unto me all that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. If we take God at his word, we can have a stress-free life. Right? Then also it provides purpose and direction in life and provide motivation and power for positive lifestyle changes. Right? And so the goal of stress management is to manage stress from distress to eustress. So I trust and pray tonight, folks, as we conclude that we'd have learned something that will keep us in the best of health. And I trust and pray that all of us will be more healthy, even as our soul prospers. So that brings us to the end of our presentation for this evening. If there are no further questions, then I'll turn it over to the host. Any question, anybody, any comment anybody want to make quickly? Sister Rosalind Michael, I see you there. Any question? I know you have a lot of stress. How are you coping?
Pastor, I came a little late. I was trying to get in, but it was giving a little problem. But I benefited a lot from it. Yeah,
Okay.
it helps me. Especially sometimes, sometimes you come home and you clean up and you do things. When you come back, you meet everything messed up. As I step in, I want to make a noise. And then you thought I learned something tonight. So I'm going to apply it. I'm going to try my best, Pastor, to apply it because Sunday I said, oh Lord Jesus, I'm so stressed, I'm tired, school open, and I'm just tired. All I want to do is to just go to the beach and relax myself and stuff like that. And you talk about part of relaxation and stuff. So I benefited a lot this evening, So you'll have to send that slide because I want to, I wish that I could get the slide so that I can.
Well, I have the workbooks,
Oh.
I have the workbooks.
Oh.
So I can make the workbook available to those who need them.
Yeah.
I did a whole thing on stress management, so I have some material there. So I could make the workbook available to those who need to follow up to and so forth. But if you're taking notes, then you have to guys the workbook. The workbook calls you to fill in the blank. So that's why they get a pen and things. So when they issue some things, you put it in because the workbook is like this.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And you have the different areas that you have to fill in and so on. All right?
Okay.
So
like that.
you have to listen to the presentation. What I could do for next presentation, I could make the workbooks available to everybody who would desire. So at least you could follow and also you could make a notes and so forth. And you can keep it as a souvenir when you finish, a memento when you finish, and so forth.
Yes, but it was a wonderful session here tonight.
Okay.
Lot.
Anybody else quickly before we exit?
But I just want to say that it's a very good topic, and we have been hearing all along about stress, and we do recognize that stress is the number one killer. Because if we're not able to cope and handle and deal with the stresses of life, that could actually cause other disease, to manifest itself in our bodies, right? And so we have to be very careful. And something you said this evening too, and we recognize that exercise is very important on a daily basis, at least 6 times or 5 times per week for at least half an hour. That is very important to have some sort of organized exercise, whether you're going to be walking, running, jogging, swimming, whatever,
cycling,
consistent, because of the things that are happening in life, a lot of us are not able to cope right? And that is what is really affecting us, right? But for me, I develop an attitude with regards to the whole idea of dealing with these stresses of life. And my mantra is that if something is happening and I can deal with it, I will endeavor to deal with it. And so I am not going to stress myself, knowing that with the grace and the help of God, I'm dealing with it and He will see me through. If it is something that I realize that I cannot handle or I cannot deal with, I leave it alone. That is how I function. So anything that I'm going after, I can handle. If I can't handle it, I leave it alone. And by doing that, I am able on a daily basis to be able to handle or deal or cope with stresses of life much better.
That's right. That's right. All right. Fifth,
Pastor, I
anybody?
want to add to the others, and
Mm.
it is so true. The the power of the word, um, because it tells you even how to handle stress too. If we read the word, we will see it says God says to cast your cares upon Him, for He cares
Right.
for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it says be careful for nothing, but in everything with prayer and thanksgiving. So and supplication, prayer and thanksgiving, let your request be made known unto God. So when we believe in these things, it can help you to look at life from a different perspective. And as Brother Leon says, it will want you to go and be active to keep the body healthy. Because if we only stick to, I'm going to read the word, I'm going to um, follow a portion of the word, because the word says that we are to take care of the temple. And a part of taking care of it is to manage the stress, which is exercising and eating healthy. So the belief system in terms of how we believe, or what we believe and who we believe in, which is God, plays a vital role. And as the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom and all other things. The Spirit will guide you into what to do, how to manage stress. So I believe in that part there, that
Mm-hmm.
our belief in the power of God can assist us in dealing with stress. Thank you.
Right. All right. My final thought is I hope that you look at this slide with the stress tank. You know, if you look at it carefully, you notice the on one side, the stresses what causes stress, and you see the what causes the overload and breakdown in health, and then you can see what causes the relief, what can cause you to get relief from the overflow. All right, and praise on top of the list: prayer, Bible study, talking to somebody, find a person who you can confide in to talk to. It doesn't have to be a spouse. It could be somebody who you trust, who you know that whatever tell this person is safe with that person. Or find somebody you could talk to. Sometimes we isolate ourselves thinking, well, oh, nobody needs to know what I'm going through. But you're not helping yourself because you're doing more harm to yourself. You're bringing more stress on yourself. People see you and you look like you're walking like a zombie because you move from stress to distress. All right. And so we need to make sure that we understand how to close off and how to relieve the pressure valve. And you close all the pressure valve by avoiding things, and you open the relief valve by doing things. So I just pray that we will be healthy as a result, and we look forward for our next session next week as we continue our study on stress management. Back to Sister Dell or the host to do the closing.
Okay, we want to thank the pastor for another presentation on health. As we can the feedback that is coming is very helpful, and it's just for us to allow God to help us to come to that point where we can manage stress the right way. As we're about to close, we will ask Sister Dawn, if she's still here, to offer our closing prayer. Sister Dawn?
Okay. Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
All right. Father God, we just want to thank you tonight, dear God, for this meeting where we can improve on our health and for the tips we have gotten that we can deal with the stresses of life. Father, daily, dear God, yes, we are faced with stresses, but we're thankful, dear God, that in the end, we can cast everything upon you and that you will help us. And with the guidance of what we've just learned, may we apply it to our lives and be able to deal with the stresses of life day by day is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Have a good
Okay,
night,
so
everybody.
we meet
I wish.
tomorrow evening for prayer meeting at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And on Thursday morning at 5 a.m. So have a pleasant night to everybody.
Right.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good evening to everybody.
Okay.
Night.
Everybody have a good evening.